As mentioned in the last tutorial, we're now ready to add something new to our layout, this card view. And we briefly mentioned how you don't get access by default to every single view or widget there is in the world. There's absolutely thousands upon thousands of different widgets and libraries out there made by all sorts of people, official and not. By default, when you make a new project, you get a good selection of the standard ones provided by Android without having to do anything. But if you want to use additional ones, you need to add them to your app. So first things first, let's just delete this incomplete card view. We don't have autocomplete for it because it's not available to us yet, and it's just going to cause an error if we leave that there. That's fine. So we need to now head over to our app's build files, and this is a new thing. So I'll show you where to find these. On the left side, on the project pane, make sure it's always turned to project mode, not Android. And if the top level folder is closed, open it. And the only other folder that we need to be open is the app one. So I've mentioned this term build files. We write our Java programming code and we write our XML resources, whether that's layout or other XML data files. But something needs to happen to tell Android how to put those pieces together to make an app that shows on the phone. And the thing that's responsible for assembling these pieces and building our app, which means making it into real working software, is our build files. The name of this file is called build.gradle. If we look at the left hand side and we look closely, we're actually going to see this file twice. Just close the top level folder and open it. So at the very top of our directory we have build.gradle here. Don't open it, but you can have a look at it there. This is our project build file, and for the time being we don't need to look at this one at all. There's not even much in that file, so do not even worry about that one. The defaults in that file are fine. But what we need is our app build file. So open the app folder and you'll see again build.gradle. And if you were to open the two files, like open one by mistake, the project one by mistake, the project one would be quite small, only a few lines, and the app one will be a lot bigger. So if you're ever in a build.gradle file and you're not seeing what I'm seeing, chances are you're in the wrong build.gradle file. So we've found this file. Let's open it now and prepare ourselves to be horrified by what we see. So double click to open. Okay, and let's just have a little scroll up and down this file here. This is one of the most intimidating looking files when you're new to Android. It's not in Java, it's not in Kotlin, it's not in XML, it's in a completely new type of language called Groovy. You heard me right, that's Groovy scripting language. And honestly, a large part of this file in the early days, we're going to be absolutely fine leaving exactly as it is. As we get into the course, we're going to actually understand the majority, if not all of this file. But let's just quickly go over a couple of things that are important to us. You can ignore this plugin at the top. That's just a necessary thing for the file to know what type of thing it's building. And as you can see, we're building an Android application. So that tells Groovy, the language that this file is written in, what we're building. Okay? Then we've got this big Android block with a load of configuration stuff. Probably looks horribly confusing. There might be some things you recognize, like your package name here. For now, all the defaults here are fine. This tells Android Studio, when we come to make our app, what to do, what version of Android to build for, what we're calling our app, what the name is, what the code is. Okay, we can leave these defaults. So ignore all of the Android block and ignore the plugin statement. We'll be leaving that for many, many tutorials and sections. But if we scroll down, we get this block here called dependencies. And this one is important, and we'll be learning how this works right now. So when you make a new project, you get a few default lines already in the dependencies block. A dependency is when you tell Android Studio what libraries, what files you need to make your project, to make your app. So what do I mean by a library? You might have heard me mention this word before in the previous tutorial. Well, a library is simply a collection of files that either you've written or somebody else has written. So by default, when we make a new project, we get this line here, a command called implementation, and then a name of a library, the Android X App Compat library. And this gives us many things. App Compat meaning it's backwards compatible, so it's up to date and modern, but it will work on older versions of Android. And when we write this line, and when we first build our app reads the build.gradle file, and this is like a ingredients list, a shopping list of things it needs to go and fetch before we can start getting to our Java code and XML code. So we put in here anything that we need, whether that's card view or the default things or some other library in the future, and we will be adding many new libraries throughout this course. We put that in this block here. When we build the app, Android Studio will go and fetch these, download them from the internet, store them locally, and then we can start to play with them in our XML and Java code. You can ignore the test ones at the bottom because we're not doing any tests at the moment. You can ignore this one at the top because we don't have any local libraries, we don't have any local files in our libs folder, which is over here. But these two we have been using. You might recognize constraint layout from before, and then App Compat library contains a whole heap of things that we use in Android application development. So we need to add a dependency to our new card view library. And the way we find out what to type here is with an internet search. So go over to your browser. I'm going to show you the way that I find what to type to add a dependency for most of the common libraries we might need. So I do a Google search, I start with the word Android in case card view exists on a different platform, which it very well may do. So Android, then the name of the thing that I want, so we need card view, okay? And then the word dependency. And more often than not, that search will bring us up what we need. So enter. And the top one looks good, developer.android.com. Always good to get things from the official website. So click there. And again, back to our really intimidating developer documentation. Ignore all the things that look confusing. But quite soon we see an example of the dependency block that we've just seen. And that's the line that we need. So we can add this line, implementation, and the name of the library, android.cardview. Okay, and this will give us what we need in our project. Now be very careful because this says Android X.cardview. Android X is the modern, fairly new way and new libraries in Android. You might have a different version, an Android support library or something else. If you don't see Android X.cardview, then just be sure to copy this line, to pause the video and copy this line letter for letter, or you could go at the top to this URL here. Okay, Android X is the key thing. If you use the older version of the library, you might run into problems. Okay, so we'll copy the line that says implementation. We don't need to copy the dependencies block, we already have that, so copy. And back to Android Studio. And then anywhere inside this block, we just copy and paste that line. And when you do this, and if you scroll up, you will see a bar at the top has appeared saying Gradle files have changed since the last project sync. A project sync may be necessary for the IDE to work properly. IDE is your developer environment. It's what Android Studio is. Okay, so whenever you touch these build.gradle files, you must immediately press a button so that will publish to your other files. If you don't, you won't be able to use your new changes. You can do it two ways. You can click sync now on the bar. That's absolutely fine. Or there is a weird looking button in the toolbar. It looks a bit like an elephant with his trunk in the air and a little blue arrow. And if you hover over it, it will say sync project with Gradle files. Okay, so either or. I'm going to choose the little elephant for now. So let's click that. Okay, and that is now synced. So we go back to our layout file now. And this time, if we start typing card view, left bracket CARD capital V, we have autocomplete. So we've gone into our build files, we've added a new dependency, and what Android Studio has done is they've gone, found that library, that collection of files online, and they've brought it into our project and into our app. So now we can start using them, and we're ready for the next tutorial.